In this video, I'm going to show you how you can install the Plex Media Server on an Ubuntu or on any of the Ubuntu derivatives system. If you're using a Debian-based system, this will work as well. If you're on Windows or Mac or any of the other platforms, I will provide a link on my website to where you can download it for them as well. Now, let me first tell you what Plex Media Server is, then I'll get into how to install it. A Plex Media Server organizes the video, audio, and photos from a user's collection from online sources and streams it into players. So what you're doing is, like the computer that I'm here at, I've got some movies, not a lot of movies, some old movies that I've ripped off and put on my hard drive so that I can stream them to my smart TVs. And I got little Android boxes hooked to other TVs that are not smart TVs, and even your Android devices and smartphones. Now, if you've got another platform, you can click the link here, which is the Plex Media Server downloads, that will take you to the Plex website. Now, as you can see, it will scan your system for a while and determine that I'm using a Linux system. You can drop down if you're using Windows or Mac or FreeBSD. You can download the installation for those. There are also, if you're using a NOS, there are other NOS devices you can download the installation file for, and even Docker. So I'm not going to focus on the other platforms. I'm going to just focus on Linux, which is the Ubuntu and the Ubuntu derivatives. Now, once that you've downloaded and start installing it, you can organize your different library types. You can organize them by movies. You don't have to have just one movie folder. If you look here, this is actually a screenshot of where I brought up Plex Live TV. But once you install the Plex Media Server, the Plex Live TV link will also work for the Plex Media Server as well. I've added a movie section and TV shows section, so when I click on when I click on movies, it will bring up the clip arts or title cover art for the movies that are on my system. And if I click on TV shows, it will bring up the cover art for the shows that I have on my system. But you don't have to just have one movie and one TV show. You can organize your movies by genre. You can click on the movies when you start to install it and type it movies action, movies horror, or you can horror movies, however you want to title it, to be displayed over here on the left hand side. You don't just have to click movies, and once you've created movies, you're finished with that. You can create different types of movies and organize them on your system. The same thing with TV shows. You can organize your music, your photos, other videos like home videos, and even games. And I've never used the games before through Plex, so I don't know how that works. But here's the focus of this particular video, is to show you how to install it on an Ubuntu or Ubuntu derivative. Now, the first thing you got to do is to add the Plex repository. Now, if you don't know what the repository is, when you go to like system and update your software through the software updater, or if you use the terminal, open up and go sudo apt get update and sudo apt get upgrade. That's where it updates the software on your system. You need to add the Plex repository so that it's upgrading Plex each time that there's a new version out there. If you download the installation file and install it on your Ubuntu system, it will work. It just won't, when there's a new version, it won't upgrade the software when you're upgrading your system. So it's necessary that you put these into your command or your terminal. And I'm not going to go through and install it. It's already installed on my system, and it will take a while, especially when it starts to scan for your media that's on your system. But if you follow these directions here, I'm going to step you step by step through it. So all you're doing is just simply copying and pasting. You copy that, open up your terminal, paste that into your terminal, and when you press the enter or return key for the first time, you'll have to put in your password to give it administrative rights to install or to update the software on your system. The next thing, you will need to install curl if you haven't already installed it, so that way it can get the GPG key from the Plex repository through this link here from Plex. So to install curl, you just simply copy this, right click, copy, paste that into your terminal, press the enter or return key, and it will install curl on your system. And if you've already got curl installed, it won't reinstall it. It will just tell you curl is already installed on your system. The next thing you want to do is, so that it gets the Plex GPG key, is to highlight this, right click, copy, paste that into your terminal, press the enter or return key, and it will go out and get the key that's needed for the installation of Plex. The next thing you want to do is to add the Plex Media Server list, so that way you're adding this so that when you do update your software, it will have Plex added to your repository list. So you simply just copy, or right click copy, paste that into your terminal, press the enter return key. Now once that it's added to your list, you're now ready to update your repository. So you select sudo apt update, right click, paste it into your terminal, and then press the enter key, and it will update your repository. Then you're going to, once that you update your repository, it may show you this. It may say that while configuring that, it's trying to add that there. I would recommend you to press Y. It's not going to hurt anything if you don't. It's just re-adding that. So you can press the Y key to continue. Then when you're finished, you're ready to install the Plex Media Server. So you just simply copy this line, right click, copy, paste that into your terminal, and let it install the Plex Media Server. And that's it. The Plex Media Server should then be installed on your system. However, if you've got a firewall installed on your system or running a firewall on your system, you will need to configure to open the ports of your firewall, so that way if you're using the Plex player on your computer and seeing the videos playing on your system, you may notice that they're not playing on your smart TV or on your Android device or whatever device that you've installed it on. That's because you need to open the port from your system to give it permission to play on other devices. So you have to first open those ports. But before we open the ports, we want to make sure after we install it if it's actually running. So to see it running, you're simply going to copy this, and I will copy this. It's not going to hurt anything. I'll open up my terminal. I paste it into my terminal. Now I'm going to have to enter my password since I didn't actually go through the above. I'm going to put my password in, and it shows me, just like you see on the image here, active running, and it's got a green Plex. So my green Plex indicates that it's running in the background. And if you've got any type of plugins installed, it should show that they are running too, and it will show how much memory that it takes in the background. If you're running an old system and it doesn't have a lot of memory, this could make your system very sluggish. So I recommend that you make sure that you've got a system that has enough hard drive space to install it on and enough memory so that it's not making your system run very sluggish. Now let me minimize this for now. As you can see here, it is running in the background. If it's not running, then you can simply copy this into your terminal, sudo systemctl, which is control to start the Plex Media Server. Put that into your terminal, press the enter key, and then go back and rerun that to see if it's running. If for some reason it's not running, you may need to go back and uninstall and reinstall, and I do have the how to uninstall Plex Media Server at the bottom of this website. Now, if it is running, and it should be at this point in time, unless you've tried to install it multiple times and there's conflicting dependencies on your system, you're now ready to configure your firewall. So if you're using a firewall, and the firewall that I'm using is the UFW, which is the uncomplicated firewall, you may be actually using the GUFW. And if you click this, it gives you a little bit more explanation of what the UFW, which is the uncomplicated firewall. When I installed my system, I actually used the GUFW, which is basically the front end of the UFW. You know, this is terminal base and this is graphical user interface. So I installed the firewall and I turned it on and set it with home. So if you're using the GUFW or either the UFW, then you need to open a port on your system. For most of you, all you need to do is just open the port 32400 or 32400 by just simply copying this, paste it into your terminal, press the enter return key, and once you finish with that, then run this command, which is the sudo fuw app update Plex Media Server. So that's updating the Plex Media Server with that open port. Then you want to allow Plex Media Server with that open port. So you want to copy, paste this into your terminal, press the enter return key, and then you can look at the status. Now I'm not going to put this status because I've already completed what's down below if this doesn't work. You're going to open your terminal and put in sudo ufw status, and if that's all you entered there, it shows that you have the port 32400 and 32400 with version 6. That means that these ports are open, so inside of your house you should be able to stream from your Plex Media Server to your Android devices, your phones, your smart TVs. And if for some reason you're not, then I recommend you to create this Plex Media Server UFW application profile. So if this wasn't enough to give you access to your devices, you need to create the UF application profile called Plex Media Server. You're going to have to create this file and place it into this folder. To do that, you can just simply place this into your terminal. Now, if you don't have gedit installed, you can go sudo apt-get install gedit, or you can replace gedit, which is just a text editor, with your favorite text editor. Once you have gedit installed, or once that you've replaced the gedit with your favorite text editor, you can open up your terminal. I'm going to close this terminal out here, and I'm going to open it up to show you what it would look like when you put it in there. I'm going to have to press the enter key, put my password in since I closed the terminal out. When I do that, it's going to open up gedit. This is the text editor. Now, you don't really have to do anything other than copy the information that I have here. Highlight, copy, paste it into your empty. If you've never created this before, yours is when it comes up with your gedit text editor, it will have the name Plex Media Server up here. You should see etc UFW applications.d, but it be an empty file because you just created this when you put that into your terminal. You're going to right click, paste that into your terminal, or hold down the control key and press the V to paste the contents into your terminal. When you've done that, hit the save button. If you're using some other text editor, figure out how to save the contents, which is this right here, into that file name Plex Media Server. You can then close out your text editor, and that's just what I showed you here. Then you need to re-update the Plex Media Server. Just simply copy this, copy, paste it into your terminal, press the enter return key, and then copy this, place it into your terminal, press or update, and then once you've done that, it should say rule added. I didn't do it again, I'm not re-adding the rules, but it should say rule added, and this should give you access to the contents throughout your house from what's on the Plex Media Server. It should open the port within your firewall, and you can see that. You can go sudo ufw status verbose, and it's going to show you something to look similar to what mine is here. Yours probably will be missing 8096. This is where I've installed the Jellyfin and the MB and had to open those ports for them. So yours will look very similar to this, minus the 8096, but it will look something like this. Now, once that you've got your firewalled, where you can then communicate from your devices to your computer, now it's time to configure your Plex Media Server. Now, this can be a little tricky because most people don't always install the movies and TV and their media folders in the same location. You know, I might go to a friend's house and he or she have their movies and TV folder in a completely different location. So a common place that you can put them is in your opt folder. Now, I don't have them in my opt folder. I've created a video in the past on how to create a mounting point because my media on this particular computer is on a separate hard drive from my installation of my operating system. So if I click on my file manager, my operating system is up here. My media is on my 2 terabyte, which is the TV folder and the movies folder. Not everyone has extra internal hard drives. So if you don't, then using the opt, if you go back up here, I can go to back to my original root drive, and you can see that there's an opt folder which is here. All the opt folder is these are programs installed on your system that are not part of the operating system. So if I created myself a Plex Media Server icon here, then inside of that put my movies and TVs folders, then it shouldn't hurt anything. It shouldn't mess up my installation of my operating system. So if you're installing your movies and TV on the same operating hard drive with your operating system, then you can put it into the opt folder so that you're not putting it into a folder that's part of your operating system. You're going to create a folder called Plex Media, or whatever that you name it. It would just need to be replaced here. And then whatever you're naming your movies folder and whatever you're naming your TV folder. That is to make these folders to run this command. Sudo mkdir is the make directory so that you can do all this in your terminal. Now if you go and use your graphical user interface, which is your file manager, you can right click, make the folders, probably much easier. But I'm just showing you step by steps how to do it using the terminal. Now here's how to create a mounting point. So if you're using something other than the opt folders. So in this particular case, if you're using these folders, then you need to run this command. What this command does is, using the chown command and the -R, it gives you read and write permissions to those directories. Because if you don't give Plex the read-write permission, it's not going to go across the internet and look for the artwork, and it may block it out. Even though you've opened up the port for it, it may make it to where you can't see your movies and TV shows even through your browser or whatever. So you need to give it read-write permission, and that's what this command does. So you're going to go to sudo chown space -R space small letters Plex colon, and then the location of your movies and TV. In this case, this is my example where I've got them in my home folder, Tommy, and then I created a mounting point. So if you go to my create mounting point, I explain how you create a mounting point so that when you log on to it, it will go through that mounting point and look for my movies folder, and it will look through my TV folder. So in that case, this is my link to that particular folder. So I would copy this particular command, put it into my terminal, press the enter return key, and if it prompts me for my password, put in there. Then I would put this in there to give my movies and TV folders read-write permission for Plex. If you're adding different genre of movies and making new folders, you need to go do the same thing, but instead of putting movies, put the name of the folder that you created. The same thing here. If you want to put the movies and TV into your videos folder, over here you got a videos folder. If you come in here and want to create movies or TV, then you could create a movies and TV and just replace my name with your name. Up here, there's not my name on there. So a lot of times you look at instructions on the internet, they recommend you to put it in the opt folder because that's not part of the system files. Here it's not really part of the system files, but when I created or installed the operating system and I named it, put my name in, it created my name here rather than your name. So if you're using this particular location, then just don't forget to replace my name. Don't copy that because that's not going to work. That's not your path. So, or here in this case, don't copy that and put it in your terminal. Please remember to replace my name with your name. But for the rest of the examples below, we're going to assume that I'm using the opt folder. So that way we're keeping some similarity on the installation from a common installation. Now the first time you run Plex, now when you first install Plex, it will be placed into your internet folder here. I've moved it into my entertainment folder and put here. You can click on Plex to start it up, or you can open up your browser, any browser, and you can copy this. Or if that doesn't work, you can copy this and put it into your browser and press the enter return key. And then the first thing it's going to do is it's going to prompt you to create a free account. If you've already have an account, then you can log in. You can click the sign in location. So you can create an account, or if you don't have an account, then you can go to, I provide a link here where you can go to sign up. You can click this link here and it will take you to Plex where you can, I've already got an account, so I don't need this. You can create your own account from the Plex website, and then you can go back and put your information in by clicking sign in, and it will start the sign in process of the Plex. Now if you want to move it from the internet folder here into an entertainment folder to keep all your streaming, then I do have a link that you can click here that will show you step-by-step instructions for moving that icon. And let me close some of these extra tabs. If you click like the entertainment folder, it's for creating a shortcut menu in Ubuntu MATE, showing you how to create the entertainment folder so you can put other things in there. And then this Plex Media will show you how you can move or create the Plex Media icon in the entertainment. Now getting back to your browser, this is going to be one of the first screens that you see when you're installing them, because once I went through the installation process, I took screenshots. So you can just say got it, because it's basically telling you how Plex works. It tells you it runs on your computer and allows you to share what's on your computer with other computers. You can share your movies, your pictures, your music, your TV shows, and you can, like I said, use your apps on other devices to view it. So you can hit got it. It takes you to the next screen, which it's prompting you to pay for a Plex Pass that will give you a lot of additional features. But if you don't want to join the Plex Pass, you can click the X in the upper right hand corner to close this dialog box. You're at the point now to where you're going to give your server a name. Now, because I'm using Ubuntu MATE 20.04.2, I just named my server, my media server on this particular computer, Ubuntu. Now, I do check allow me to access my media outside my home, so that way if I go and want to access the computers and I have to leave the computer on to access it from outside of my home, this allows you, but you must have a port forward open in your router. So if you want to access it from home, leave that check. If you don't, uncheck that before you hit the next button. And even if you leave it checked, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to access it until you make some changes in your router, which I have links at the bottom to show you how to do that. Once that you've named your server, once you hit the next button, you're now ready to add your library. So you click the Add Library button on your screen, and it's going to then prompt you, do you want to set up a movie, TV show, music, photos, or other. In this case, I'm going to select movies. So I typed in movies just as I have here. If you want to create multiple folders of different genre of movies, you can put like movies and put kids out to the side, movies horror, movies action, movies comedy. And if you put movies first, it will organize them movies and kind of put them in alphabetical order. If you put like horror at the beginning, comedy, it may randomly put them in alphabetical order on the side and not organize them by movies. So I recommend to put movies first and then whatever the genre or the way that you're organizing them, and then hit next. If you're choosing TV, click TV and put in TV shows or TV, whatever you want to name it, and hit next. Same goes for music, photos, or your own personal home videos for like where you go on vacation. Then you choose the drop down menu and choose the language of your choice, and then click the next button. You're then ready to browse for your media folder. That's the location where you put your movie files and your TV files or whatever media files that you're going to use Plex Media for. In this case, my example was the opt folder, Plex Media, movies. So you can just simply copy the link that you had up here if that's the location that you place them in. So you can simply scroll back up to the top where we actually had those links where you had here. In this case, if I put them at Plex Media and Movies, I can copy that, and I can come down to this location which was here, and I can right click, paste that in there, or I can simply scroll down, locate opt, then open up opt, and then open up the Plex Media in that folder, and then open up movies and then click add. So either you can put it here and hit add, or you can locate it within this basically like a file manager and then hit add. It will then start the server setup. If you want to add TV shows, go back through the process, click on TV shows, put the name of your TV shows, browse where your TV's at, and instead of movies, go to opt, Plex Media, and put TV or whatever you named it, hit add. Then when you're completely finished, hit done. Now it will go through, and if you've got a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows, it can take a long time. It could take several hours for a lot of TVs and movies, because what it does is it's not just setting it up where it's at on your computer, it's looking across the internet, finding the cover art and a description, so that if you're on a smart TV, you click on the name of the movie or TV show, it will give you the thumbnail art of the or cover art of the movie or TV show. It will give you a description of what the TV show or movie is. It will tell you basically how much time it is, and it will give you ratings from different websites. So as it's scanning, you'll look in the upper right hand corner and see that this activity is going on, indicating it's looking across the internet, updating the information to your library. Now you can go into the settings and make a lot of changes, but this video is just focusing on installing it on your system. Now once that you have it on your system, you're going to see the movies folder and TV shows folder, or whatever you named it on your system, on the left hand side. Now these right here are the actual from the Plex, using Plex and shows on Plex. This is live TV on Plex. These are web shows, podcasts, music. All these are Plex features. This is the actual media server where it's connecting to the contents that's on my system. So it's movies and TV shows. Now you can rearrange this, or you, like if I don't look at podcast or web shows or music on title, then I can click the more, and I can click onto the little thumbtack or push pin to unpin those from my home screen. So if I don't want to see podcasts, music, and web shows, I can go to music, click on that, podcast, click on that, click on that. And then when I go back, this basically pin them on that screen. Those will no longer be displayed, so you can view or have what you want to see on the home screen, which is here. Then when you click onto your movies, and if you click the actual up here, let's see, where is it at? Somewhere up here. You can click on that the thing here, and it will make it where it's not large. It will make it where you just see the icons rather than the icons and words. When you click the movies, it will display a thumbnail or cover art of the movies that are on your system. The same thing when you click here, it will display your TV shows. But again, this is not showing you how to set up and scan for additional movies and TV shows. It's basically the installation of Plex on your system. Now let's say that you've installed Plex, but you later realize that your system is too old or you no longer want it. It uses up too much memory. It makes your system kind of sluggish. The one thing you want to do to uninstall it is to go through these steps one at a time. But I did say at the very beginning, if you've installed it, when you go sudo apt-get update or sudo apt-get upgrade, it will constantly look across the internet and keep you updated with the Plex Media Server so that you have the newest version installed on your system. So if I go to System, Administration, Software Updater, if there were a newer version of Plex Media Server out there, it would download it and install it for me, so that way I don't have to keep looking for the newest version and installing it manually. It will do it automatically. Now if you decide that you don't want Plex Media Server on your system, you got to first stop Plex Media Server from running in the background. You can't really uninstall it while it's running. It might give you error messages. So to stop the Plex Media Server, you just simply copy this, right click, paste that into your terminal, or you can go to the right click on this. These are two different ways of stopping the Plex Media Server. Once that you've got Plex Media Server stopped, you can then run this command, or this command, and I would suggest running the sudo apt-get purge Plex Media Server to remove Plex Media Server from your system. You can also run this, and it will remove the Plex Media Server from your system. Now that's just removing the Plex Media Server software. When you've installed it and set it up, it installed additional files and information in other directories and folders. You want to keep your system clean, especially if you've got a small hard drive. Then I recommend you to remove the Plex Media Server folder from the Plex Media Server that we created, which is going to have all your libraries, all your applications from if you installed any plugins into these folders. So if you delete this folder and all of its contents, it will remove everything that was installed on your system, cleaning up your device. So you can open up your terminal, run sudo rm for remove, and put the the -R and F and put that in there. All that simply does is it removes this folder and all of the files and folders within that folder. So if you've got Plex Media Server, it will delete all of these folders and all the files within those folders, cleaning up your system so it's not leaving behind any files on your system. Then you can remove your Plex user. So go sudo user delete Plex. So your user account that you had stored on your system will be removed by putting that command into your terminal. Now you want to remove the configuration files in both the etc int and default folder. To do that, you just simply go sudo rm for the remove command. Just simply copy this, and that will remove the Plex Media Server configuration file. And then you go on sudo remove the Plex Media Server in your etc default file. That will remove those from your system as well, getting rid of some clutter. You now want to, if you're no longer using Plex Media Server, you no longer want the port 32400 open. So you're going to remove that profile that we created by going sudo remove, and then just copying this for the etc UFW applications D, the Plex Media Server UFW profile that we created. By putting that in there, it will take that profile out. It will delete it. And then to close that port, or to where we're no longer opening it, you're going to put that in the command sudo UFW delete port 32400. That closes that port. Once you're completely going through every single one of these lines, then just simply copy sudo apt-get auto remove to remove any dependencies that may be left behind by any of these installed files on your system. Once you reboot your system, Plex Media Server and all of the contents should be removed from your system. Now, that's not answering questions on how to use Plex. This was basically going through and show you how to install Plex and basically how to remove Plex if it's installed on your system. You know, the first time I installed Plex on an Ubuntu system, I did run into some trouble, and I also wanted to remove it because the first time I installed it, the directions I used wasn't correct, and it seemed like by installing over a previous installation was causing all sorts of trouble. So I thought I wished I had a good guide for removing it so that I can install it basically on a clean version of Ubuntu rather than having to reinstall Ubuntu. So I wanted to make sure I had a good uninstallation so that if you do mess up, you can uninstall it, install it again. But if you do need additional help, I have a quick start guide for using Plex if you're a first-time user. I've got the Plex documentation. I've got enabling repositories for support for Linux distribution, the Linux server distributions, troubleshooting remote access. So if you do have it installed on here on your system and you want to look at movies outside your network, you could click this to troubleshoot your remote access. You could look at what ports do I need to open through my firewall, and you can even watch a video on how to port forward. And this is not a video that I've created. It does show you how to open a port in a typical wireless router. So if you've done the steps above, you should be able to get Plex Media Server installed on your system so that it will allow you to view your movies, your TV shows, your home movies, like when you go on vacation. Now if you're a parent and got a small child, it may not mean as much, but years from now when that child has grown up and gone away to college and get married, you might want to view when they're small. Putting it on a Plex Media Server and then streaming it to your smart TV, that could be a valuable thing that you'll always have. So if you're using Ubuntu and switch from Windows or Mac to an Ubuntu system, you still have the same features that you had installing Plex onto it. It may look a little bit more complicated, but once all you're basically doing is just copying and pasting, putting information in your terminal to install it, to make sure it's installed right. Like I said, you can install the installation file from the Plex Media Server website and it will install and it will work. It's just by installing it by the installation file, it's not going to set it up to where you're getting a update each time there's an update available. You would have to go out and manually update your Plex Media Server. So hopefully this video has explained how to install the Plex Media Server on your Ubuntu or Ubuntu derivative system. And have a great day.